Hi, it's Miriam Berlin from Accepted.com, and I want to welcome you all today to the Smart Timeline for 2013 MBA Applicants webinar given by Linda Abraham, during which you'll discover the tools you need to create a persuasive, thoughtful MBA application in an organized and timely manner. Now, Linda Abraham is Accepted.com's founder and president. She's helped thousands of MBA applicants gain acceptance to top programs, including Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, London Business School, and many more. In addition to advising clients and managing Accepted.com, she's written and lectured extensively on admissions. She's also the co-author of the newly published MBA Admission for Smarties, which she'll tell you a bit about more later. Now, before we begin, I just want to recommend that you keep your timeline PDF printout handy so you can refer to it or take notes on it during the webinar. To get the PDF, visit www.accepted.com/MBA Round 1 Timeline PDF and either print it out or keep it open in your screen. I'm also going to just send you that link now. So for those of you who don't have it, you can just click on that link in your chat window and you can just go ahead and open it from there. Now, just to point out two features that we will be using during the webinar, one which I just used, that chat or question window. It's located on your dashboard. Your dashboard is on the top right side of your screen, and at the bottom of that box is a place to enter questions. And I'll also be posting links there throughout the Q&A. We have set aside some time at the end of the Q&A for questions, so if you do have any questions during the webinar, you can just enter them into that question window, and we'll review all the questions that are submitted then. At some point, Linda may ask for a show of hands or for you to raise your hand. And the way you do that is simply by clicking on a button with a little hand in a blue circle with a green arrow. It's on the top left side of your dashboard, and that will be effectively raising your hand. And if you minimize that window, the dashboard, you may need to click on the small blue-green arrow at the top right of your screen to re-expand it. Now, don't miss out. At the end of this webinar, Linda will be presenting an exclusive offer to webinar participants, so make sure you're there. And now, introducing our newest webinar, the Smart Timeline for 2013 MBA Applicants with Linda Abraham.
Thank you all very much for coming this morning, taking out time from your day and your busy schedule. Every year, fall rolls around, and applicants seek our advice on how to improve their applications. And that's our job to give them that advice. But I must tell you that ever so often, we feel that when they start seeking our advice in September, August, etc., for a round one submission, they're already starting from a point of weakness. And we're thinking in our heads what they could have done had they started 6 months earlier. Because at that point, or in your case, at this point, we could discuss how you as an applicant would stack up against your competition at your target schools and what you could actually do, what you can actually do to improve your qualifications. And that's going to be the topic of today's webinar. There are very few walk-on-water applicants who excel in all areas. Almost all applicants, like all human beings, have strengths and weaknesses. As an applicant, there are steps you can take to improve your profile before you actually start applying, before you start filling in those boxes. This webinar, in conjunction with the MBA Smart Timeline, lays out step-by-step what you should be doing and when to prepare for round one fall 2013 submission. You may decide, after reviewing this timeline, that your application will be stronger round two, or even the following application year. That's fine. That's a really, really useful discovery to make now, as opposed to in August or September. The point is that you are starting the process in an organized and directed way, in a timely way, instead of a rushed, scattered way. Now, before we get into the meat of the presentation, I have a couple of questions for you. I'd like to know a little bit about my audience today. And I'm wondering if you can just tell me where you are logging in from. So just type into the question window, where are you logging in? And I want to get a sense of that. Oh, wow. Work. Okay, good. Where is work? Houston, Seattle, Russia, home, India, Texas, Greenwich, Connecticut, New York City, New York, Delhi, France, Nicaragua, Chicago, Los Angeles. Welcome. I'm also in Los Angeles. Thailand, Ventura County outside of LA. That's close enough. Peru, Puerto Rico, New York State, Toronto. Wow, all over the place. Well, that's one of the reasons I love this stuff. Okay, I also have another question for you, and this is going to be a poll that you're going to see on your screen in just 1 second. What are you hoping to get out of today's webinar? You can hope for more than one thing. You can choose multiple options. And the options are an application plan, a sense of my strengths and weaknesses, an admission strategy, or a little info about accepted.com. And again, you can choose more than one option. With 77% having voted, let's see if we can't nudge it up to 80 or more. Which option or options represent you best? Okay, 45% want an application plan, 10% want a sense of your strengths and weaknesses, 43% want an admission strategy, and 0% of you want to know about accepted.com. Well, I can tell you you're going to get a little bit of all the above, even if you don't want it. Let me just share the poll. So we're going to close it now with 85% having voted, and you'll get the final results. All right. There you go. So again, it's 48% an application plan, 10% a sense of strengths and weaknesses, 43% an admission strategy, and even though none of you want it, you are going to get a little bit of info about accepted.com. Okay. So let's proceed with the webinar. Let's take a look at 2 imaginary MBA candidates. I completely made these people up, but I think for our purposes this morning, it's going to be a very good idea to get to know them. You see, they are, like you, they are different candidates. The first one, Johnny Jock, has a 730 GMAT, a 3.5 GPA in computer science from a top public Ivy University in the United States. Think UC Berkeley, Michigan, something along those lines. He's worked in software development for Microsoft for the last 3 years. He has limited international exposure, no community service since college when he volunteered a little bit for his fraternity. He's a marathoner. He played varsity tennis in college, and his goal, he wants to go into management consulting, investment banking, or start his own business. Oh, yes, I just want to confirm what Miriam said. At certain points in time, I'm going to go ask questions based on the webinar up until that point, and the first one to get the right answer will get a free copy of MBA Admissions for Smarties. That's my new book, co-authored with Judy Gruen. So that was Johnny Jock. Again, 730 GMAT, 2.5 GPA, software developer for Microsoft, etc. Let's go to the second person. Again, entirely made up, Sally Success. She worked for Teach for America for 2 years, and then for the Gates Foundation in PR and social media for another 2 years. During her time at the Gates Foundation, she traveled extensively to emerging market countries. She's been spending the last year spearheading social media in the United States for a medium-sized not-for-profit. Her GPA was a 3.2 from a local college. She has a 670 GMAT. She majored in psychology and English Lit. She was very active in college. If Occupy Wall Street would have existed, she would have been in it. Her goal, either general management in a not-for-profit or starting her own social media firm. Now, where should you and Sally and Johnny be at now? Take a look at your timeline. In terms of your goals, let's just focus on goals now. It's March, and you should have been clarifying your goals through networking and researching, scheduling informational interviews, and be almost ready to write a succinct statement, concise statement of your post-MBA goals in terms of function and industry. Now, function means what do you actually want to do in your job, not where do you want to do it. Actually, let me see what you guys are seeing for just 1 second. Yeah. What do you want to do? And the where you want to do it implies, first of all, industry. What industry do you want to work in? And possibly actual geographic location if it's relevant and important part of your goals. Your goals should grow from past experience, either professional, personal, or communal. If you are changing careers, think in terms of transferable skills. Now, let's look and see how Johnny and Sally are doing in this area. Does anybody remember what was Johnny's goal? The first one to provide the right answer will get a copy of MBA Admissions for Smarties. You have to get all parts of it, or you're not going to count. So far, nobody's gotten it all. All right. Johnny had, okay, Diana got it. Diana Young got it. His goal was management consulting, investment banking, or starting his own company. Now, a goal like that is a non-goal. It means he doesn't know what he wants to do. It's a complete non-starter. He is clueless at the moment. He really needs to focus and narrow his post-MBA goal. He can change his mind later, but he needs direction for choosing schools. He needs direction for the application process. And he needs to have a much better sense of direction or to take advantage of early internship recruiting when he gets to business school. But the most immediate need, the most immediate reason he should narrow his goal is because he needs a good goal in order to narrow down his choice of schools. And then again, to write more informed application essays. So he has his work cut out for him. Sally is in much better shape. And again, who remembers Sally's goal? Good. Charmine got it. Well, general management of a not-for-profit, but I'll give it to you, or open her own social media firm. That's correct. Charmine, you got it. Thank you. Okay, is anybody else having trouble hearing me? Tara said that she's having trouble hearing me. All right, let's see. Is this better? Okay, if you're still having trouble, yes. Okay, great. All right, I'll also try to talk a little louder. Sally is in much better shape. She's more directed, but she should really have, ideally, a primary goal and a plan B. Ideally, plan B should relate to her primary goal. Now, her two goals in terms of management of a not-for-profit and social media, or running her own social media consulting firm, could be easily related. She could try her own social media firm with a focus on not-for-profit, or, there's ways that she could relate them. So she has some work to do in terms of clarifying her goal, but she's certainly far ahead of Johnny Jock. So what do Sally and Johnny need to do for March and into April? They need to research their options, especially Johnny. He needs to have a much clearer understanding of what these three career paths mean, and maybe how he can switch from one to the other later in his career. But in terms of an immediate post-MBA goal, he needs a lot. He needs to do his homework. One of the ways you can do homework, obviously, is online. But at some point, it really pays to talk to people. Informational interviews with people in positions that you would like to have, or that Sally and Johnny would like to have, or whose opinion they value because of their insight, would be really, really valuable. And I would suggest that Sally and Johnny, especially Johnny, schedule one informational interview a week. Now, what do I mean by that? Take somebody out to lunch, take somebody out for coffee, and something like that. Get together, have a few questions prepared, and get a sense of if it's a person you feel has a position you're interested in, what did they do, what did they like about it, how did they prepare for it, what classes they took that they felt were worthwhile, that kind of stuff. And then when you feel you have your information and you basically know what you want, draft a concise statement of post-MBA goals, including, again, the function, what you actually want to do, and the industry and what you want to do it. So that would get you in pretty good shape in terms of your goals and give you that direction. Now, then you have assess academics. Your mission in terms of academics is to show you have the ability and the discipline to excel in your target business schools. And this is most commonly done through your GPA and GMAT, with the GRE now being an option. Let's look at Sally and Johnny. Johnny is in great shape here. He's got it made. Sally, on the other hand, she has her work cut out for her if she aims for schools in the U.S. News Top 10, where the average GMAT is over 700 and the average GPA and matriculation is around a 3.5. So what are her options? She can either choose programs that are strong in her area of interest and where she will be competitive, or she can improve her profile to be competitive at her top choices, which happen to be in what I like to call the greater top 10. Her top choices are Haas, Yale, or Duke. She's also interested in Kellogg, and she realizes she has to work on her profile again or change her target schools, at least some of them. Sally believes she has the time to improve her profile, and I agree with her. And that's what she's going to do. So she's going to enroll in Accounting 1 and MBA Math, which is an online MBA Math course, very good one, and then retake the GMAT in July after an intensive prep course in June. She may also take Stats for Business in the fall. She'll see how things are going. She has a tough but doable schedule, and then she will decide where to apply, actually, after taking the GMAT in June. So then she'll have a better sense. Will she get an A in that math course she's taking in Accounting 1? How's she going to do in MBA Math? And then hopefully she will really do well on the GMAT and show that she can handle things. How about you? Are you in great shape from an academic perspective, or do you have work to do to show that you are competitive at your target schools? Think about it and maybe make a couple of notes. What could you do? Or what, do you need to do anything? Or are you more like Johnny and basically in good shape? I'm going to give you a couple of rules of thumb that will help you assess your competitiveness. Please realize these are rules of thumb. They're not ironclad, cast in concrete, never cross the Rubicon kind of rules. There's a lot of fudge in these numbers. If you'd like us to help you interpret the numbers and how they apply to you, that relates to our special offer at the end. But here they are. You want to be within 0.3 of the, or no more than 0.3 below the school's average GPA and matriculation. And then in terms of the GMAT, ideally you want to be at or above the school's average. But the nature of an average means that people are accepted below the average as well as above the average. So if you are within 30 points, especially if your GPA is strong, you are still within the ballpark in terms of the GMAT. If your numbers are outside that range, especially if both those numbers are outside the range, then you have to assess whether you can improve your qualifications, the academic elements of your profile, or apply to other target programs. So let's review Sally's to-dos. In April, she's going to enroll in an accounting class. She can either go to a school that's on the core system and take in-class classes, or she can enroll in an online class at one of the many schools that's on the quarter system. In June and July, she's going to prepare for and retake the GMAT, and she may take Stats for Business in the fall. Now let's look at the next dimension on your timeline, leadership. This is so important. It's like it's real location, location, location in real estate. It's leadership, leadership, leadership in MBA admissions. And this point was emphasized very much by Dean Andrew Ainsley when he participated in an Exhibit.com chat a few months ago. And it's particularly timely to bring this up since we just finished with the academic stats, and there was a tremendous focus on the academics at the beginning of that chat. People are asking, what if my GMAT verbal is low? What if my GMAT quant is low? What if I had a D in one semester in one class? What if I had a lousy semester? And he got a little frustrated with the whole direction that the chat was taking. And he said, I'm going to quote it, I think we've been seeing a lot of repetition of this question sort of along the lines of, if I'm missing this or that, is that a problem? I think the bigger thing for applicants to realize is that what we're looking for are signs of something exceptional. It's not as though we are hunting for the negatives. We are really hunting for the positives. Now, the positives tend to come in the next several dimensions on the timeline. Sometimes it can be academic. Sometimes you can have stellar academics, and yes, that's definitely a place to excel, and that's great. But it's really, really, the exceptional really tends to come in on the next several dimensions. Leadership, community service, those are where you tend to be able to shine. So let's discuss that. Realize first and foremost that schools want to develop, not create leaders. Claiming leadership qualities doesn't count. You need to show them. You can do so on the job, which is probably the best place, but it's not always possible for people 2, 3, 4 years out of college to show enormous impact and leadership on the job. So if you don't have it on the job, look elsewhere. Have you led in terms of sports, church or religious organizations, politics, election year? You've got lots of opportunity. The arts, social service, Greek associations, your alumni groups, ethnic groups, and professional groups. All those organizations, all those entities provide really good opportunities for you to show leadership? Now, I'm getting a couple of messages that people can't hear. Can you please raise your hand if you can hear me? Okay, most people are hearing, so apparently the problem is not on my end. All right, we're going to go forward. What are the critical leadership elements? How can you show leadership? Instances where you made a difference, you had an impact. That's one element in a leadership experience. 2, the other element would be followers. It's not just that you did bench research. There were people that you influenced, that you persuaded, that you motivated, that you managed. And 3, the third critical element in leadership is responsibility. Leaders assume responsibility. They say, I'm going to manage this. I'm going to be chair of this committee. I'm going to be chair of this event or this initiative. Those are the 3 critical elements to leadership. Now let's take a look and see how our friends are doing, okay? Sally. Sally is in great shape here. As a teacher for Teach for America, she's automatically in a leadership role, or was automatically in a leadership role. And in her current job, she was in a leadership role. Does anybody, the first person who remembers what Sally was doing or is doing now, gets a copy of MBA Missions for Smarties? Just type it into your question window. You're close, but it wasn't for Gates. What was Sally doing? No, she's left Gates. No. No. Anybody remember what Sally was doing? Running media for not-for-profit. That's Latif. It was actually social media, but I'll give it to you. Running social media for not-for-profit. That's right. Latif, you got it. So again, she was in a management role there. She was actually spearheading the social media movement there. PR for Gates Foundation. That was her previous employer. Yes, she was also influencing and persuading there. In her current job, what you didn't know is that she has budgetary responsibility, and she manages a staff of 3. She's had tremendous success in raising awareness for her not-for-profit, and fundraising has increased 10% despite our middling economy, our best middling economy, slow economy. And her boss gives her some of the credit. Johnny Jock is going to have to work a little harder here. He was captain of the tennis team in his senior year, but that was 3 years ago. He is a senior manager and senior engineer at Microsoft and has 2 junior programmers working with him. He's thinking of organizing a running group at Microsoft to train for the Hartford Marathon in October and raise money for a cause. He has to figure out which cause, but he has that kind of in his head. What about you? What can you do for leadership, show for leadership? You don't have to put it in the question window, just jot it down. What would be an example of you showing leadership? If you can't, or it's just old, or not terribly impressive, can you initiate a project off the job that will allow you to show you can motivate, manage, and have impact? Remember, you want to show that you've made a difference, that you can make a difference, that you've motivated, persuaded, influenced, and managed others, that you have followers, and that you've assumed responsibility for something. So if you have those elements in a recent experience, great. If you don't, then think about how you can do something between now and application time that will allow you to show leadership, either on the job or off. If you can't do it on the job, which is very common, you don't have to apologize for it, and try for off. Now, business is increasingly global, and business schools admire, respect, are attracted to people with international experience. It's not required, but it's definitely an asset in an increasingly global business environment. Johnny doesn't have it. He had thought about traveling abroad, especially to Asia, and he's thinking about going to China this summer, which would really help broaden his horizons and even improve his admissions chances. And he is already planning to emphasize the international nature of his work environment because Microsoft is kind of like the UN. Sally, on the other hand, is in great shape here. At the Gates Foundation, she worked a lot with the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria. She traveled occasionally to Africa and Asia and worked with local agencies there. She also did a year abroad in college and loves to travel outside the U.S. She speaks Spanish fluently. What about you? Do you speak multiple languages? Have you lived abroad? Have you traveled outside your home country? Do you work in a multicultural environment? If none of the above, can you request work outside of your home country? Can you travel this summer? If you can, again, it's not a requirement, but our world is increasingly global, increasingly international. And to the extent that you can show an interest in the world outside of your exposure to the world outside of your home country, it will enhance your MBA profile. So the to-do in March and April for you and for Johnny, if your international exposure is limited or lacking, is to figure out how you can improve it in the months to come, either through a vacation or through work or through some other initiative. Now, what about community service? Next dimension on the timeline. Let's first look and see what is community service. It is active participation in an assumption of responsibility for your community. Now, key words in that definition, I'm going to repeat it. Active participation in an assumption of responsibility for your community. Key word is active. Writing a check is not enough. And then there's that word again, responsibility. Got to assume it if you're going to talking about community service. We're talking about a commitment here, not just about being a nice person. And then your community. Your community is really how you define it. It could be your geographic community, your neighborhood. It could be your work community. Perhaps there's some service organization that's affiliated with your company. It could be an ethnic group, a religious group, a hobby group. Many, many different ways to define your community. But the key words here, that's very, very intentionally broad. The key words are active and responsibility, implying commitment. So, again, just to go over it, assume responsibility, and then take initiative to serve. That's the active part of it. This comprises the essence of community service. And it is a definite asset in the application process for the simple reason that schools believe if you've been active in the past in your community, you'll be active in the school's community as a student and as an alumnus. So let's look at Sally and Johnny. Sally is in great shape. Her work embodies service and active participation in community. She did Teach for America. She was active in college. She has nothing to worry about here. Johnny has a little bit more to do. He volunteered only a little bit when he was in college, and that was a while ago. But his marathon initiative would also allow him to show community service. Again, the money he raises through this marathon initiative would go to a cause, presumably something that he finds important. In addition, he'd be working in his Microsoft community and organizing and serving that community. So he would be able to show community service through that, and it would be consistent with his interest because, again, he's a marathoner. So what are the to-dos for April? Start a community service commitment if you do not have anything. If you already have been doing something in community service, just keep it up. Now, some of you may be thinking and wondering, but if I start something now, isn't the admissions committee or the admissions representative just going to think that I did it strictly for my application? The truth is, I wouldn't worry about it, because if you don't do anything now, then they'll think you didn't even start community service now when you knew you were applying. But I would argue more than that. If you start something now and you do it consistently through the application cycle, you might be waitlisted. And come January or February, writing about a consistent commitment that's been going on for 9 months, and maybe you've assumed some greater responsibility or had some greater impact, is going to be more impressive and actually enhance your chances of getting off the wait list. And there's also the possibility, and we don't like to face it, that you don't get accepted this year, that you have to reapply, or that perhaps you don't end up applying this year. Something comes up, you get a great opportunity, and then you end up applying the following year. At that point, it won't be a 6-month commitment. It'll be an 18-month commitment, and nobody's going to question your motives at that point, even if they didn't start out so pure. So I would just start it. And finally, it's time to start getting more serious about actually the business school end of this. You need to research schools. I would say once you've gotten you've started all these other initiatives, you can hopefully have completed a few things, you can turn towards researching schools. And again, if all this gets to be too much, then you need to consider a round 2 application or perhaps the following year. Round 3 is also an option, but that's a whole separate subject. So research schools. You want to know which schools, first of all, support your goals best. You want to know which schools have relationship with the companies where you would want to work and have grads that went to the functions you want to perform. And this is one of the reasons, by the way, that researching schools starts after you complete your goals analysis, because goals play such an important role in school choice. You want to attend a school that has a curriculum you want to study taught in the way you want to learn it. There are different approaches to management education. There's case study, there's experiential learning, there's frontal lecture. There's all different ways, group study. Make sure that the schools, that you understand the differences, because the schools do function differently. And there's combinations. And then you want a program that has extracurricular activities that, again, will support your goals and also will simply make you happy, that you would enjoy participating in. So you need to do your homework. And the best way to start your homework is with web-based research. Visit the school websites, read student blogs. Eclipse.com has school-specific pages you can also look at with previous chat transcripts, MBA interview feedback, blog posts related to the specific school. So any of these are great resources for you in doing school research. And then there are events. For example, there are the fairs. The MBA Tour has a great fair. There's also World MBA Tour, Connect 1-to-1, and then there are school receptions and school-specific events. So especially if you can't get to the schools themselves, and that's ideal, but it's very expensive and time-consuming, then take advantage of those times when the schools come close to you, either as a part of the fairs or in their own receptions. Network with current students and recent alumni. Talk to them, meet with them, correspond with them to the extent that you can. And finally, the best way to do research, but it is the most expensive, is to actually visit the campuses that you're most interested in. Visiting the campuses will either confirm or dissuade you from applying to certain programs, and either piece of information is valuable. Confirm your decision or dissuade you from applying. It will give you insight that you will be able to use both in your application essays and your interviews if you do apply to those schools that you intend to apply to. It's just a great way to make sure that these schools are right for you. Now, both Sally and Johnny have to do more research, although Sally seems to have thought more in terms of her goals about the school. She did have certain schools in mind. Whoever names 2 of the schools that Sally was interested in will get a copy of MBA Admissions for Smarties. Just 2. Give me 2 schools, Haas and Kellogg. Okay, Sharif, you got it. Sharif got it. And I think, all right, so Sharif, you'll, let me just make a note here. All right, great. Your ultimate goal is to apply to programs that you want to attend and that are likely to want you. You want to end up where that green arrow is pointing at that overlap. And you want to select your schools in June or July, because that's when the applications start coming out, and that's when you can actually start working on essays. And you have plenty of time. If you don't have it by the beginning of June, don't sweat. And you want to apply to those schools, just like that Venn diagram shows, that you want to attend that are likely to want you. You want to apply to schools that support your goals, and again, you want to attend and they're likely to want you. Now, what if you have some schools and they are slightly outside? Perhaps they are over here, just outside, they're likely to want you. I think if you apply to 1 or 2 that are what I would call stretch, they may not be likely to want you, but you're not in left field. It's still possible. Sure, go ahead. Just make sure that some of your schools are in the area where the green arrow is. Okay, so what's the next step? Today, we've gone all the way up until the applications come out in terms of the timeline. Let's go back to March 14th, Pi Day, and think about what you should be doing now. We've gone through the basic parameters to consider and the steps you need to take as you prepare yourself to apply and decide where to apply. As you can see from the examples of Johnny Jock and Sally's success, each of you may have different elements to work and improve upon. In that regard, Accept.com is going to help you out. We'd love to be able to help you evaluate your qualification and advise you as you attempt to improve your profile and really position yourself for an optimal round 1 application. And right now, we are offering you 50% off the first hour you purchase before March 31st. You have 2 weeks to do this. The coupon code is MBA50. Just jot that down. And you can, and Miriam, I think, just chatted you the link for the, either admissions review for reviewing an application or an hour of consulting if you haven't already applied. Again, 50% off the first hour purchase before March 31. If you prefer to continue on your own, we also have a few resources. Obviously, I've been talking about MBA Admissions for Smarties. That's my new book. It's available in paperback and and for Kindle. And in that book, Judy Gruen and I, together, we really synthesized a very coherent approach to the MBA application process. It's not in timeline format, so I think any of you who attended the timeline would be able to easily apply the advice in the book to this timeline, or to a timeline for round 2, or to a timeline for a 2014 application. The book provides insight on developing your MBA admissions strategy, which was, and an application plan, which 90-something% of you were interested in when you started. It is succinct, it is concise, it is meaty, and then it also provides how-tos in terms of the application essays, letters of recommendation, resume, waitlist letters if necessary, and some advice for specific categories in the application pool. The first chapter is a free download, and again, the book costs less than a movie ticket. So in terms of getting advice, solid advice economically and succinctly in a timely way, I don't think you can beat it. If you want free, there's also Best MBA Programs, a guide to selecting the right one, a free report to download, and you have the link there. I think Miriam's also going to send you a live link. And then Start Your Engine, 7 Steps to a Stronger MBA Application, which is a webinar I did last year. And again, you can watch the recording, and that too is free. Best MBA Programs is an excellent special report. It does not give the depth, and it certainly doesn't go into the how-tos that MBA Admissions for Smarties provides. So yes, that was a shameless plug for my book. I want to really thank you all for listening and for attending. And now I'm happy to take your questions. And I see that we have some questions here. Okay, just some real quickies. Diana asks, is the SMART timeline for 2013 spanning from January to December 2012? No, the SMART timeline basically goes through September. And it's a PDF download. It's just a one-page. You can stick it on your refrigerator, your bulletin board, and obviously you would want to detail out your own personal plan a little bit more than we could do in that PDF, because as an individual you should have your own plan and your own to-dos. But it's a very readable timeline and gives you a lot to think about. All right. And then international experience. Nathan asked, does it mean travel? It doesn't mean travel. It can mean without travel if you are working internationally. If you are constantly working with people in other countries, then you are working and you have international experience. Travel probably is a great form of international experience because it does take you outside your comfort zone in a way that working internationally does not. And realize that I constantly work with clients all around the world, but it's not the same as traveling abroad and navigating an entirely different phone system, transportation system, perhaps language, culture. It's just not the same. It's good. Definitely bring it up if that's what you have, but it's not the same as travel. Okay, Tara asks, I'm volunteering currently my time and expertise, wait, this is moving very fast, to a global not-for-profit which has great potential for showing results, leadership, and direct way. But it's aimed at not any direct way humanitarian. Is this okay? I'm not sure what this organization is. It could be political, it could be professional, and that would be okay. Again, the definition of community is very, very broad. It's pretty much how you define it. So, yes, it's okay, and you can definitely use it. Rasul asks, will there be an EMBA webinar sometime later this year? I haven't planned one, but I could start planning one. We did have an EMBA webinar last year, Rasul, and you can certainly watch it. It is on demand and available. Ella asks, can you please go over the research options for schools besides online research? Do you recommend traveling to schools to attend a class, meet with school representative or others? Yes. Yes to all the above. I definitely don't recommend limiting your research to online research. I recommend that you meet with current students and recent alumni, that you correspond with them, if you can, that you actually meet with them. And I strongly encourage visits to schools. I also encourage meeting school representatives at fairs like the MBA tour fairs, Connect One-to-One. Also allows you to meet directly one-on-one with school representatives, and that you attend school events themselves. They organize events around the world, certainly in most major metropolitan areas. So thanks for the question. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. Angeline asks, when we are done here, do you think you could recommend good quant courses to take? I was thinking about using extension over the summer for accounting classes. Any other quant classes you recommend? Yes. UCLA Extension used to have a class called Business Math, or Math for Business Students. That was a good basic class. I mentioned MBA Math before. It is an excellent MBA preparatory class. It's particularly good for somebody who's, let's say, struggling with the quant, who has good grades overall, but is struggling on the quant on the GMAT, or perhaps is not so much as GMAT preparatory, but if you're just having trouble getting that score up and want to be able to show you can do the math for business school. MBA Math is one thing that may help you. Also, it will provide you the skills that you'll use in business school. Other courses to take would be statistics for business, economics, and then Calc 1. Many schools really want you to have Calc 1. Don't, however, take Calc 1 if you don't remember the math prior to Calc 1, or you don't have the prerequisites for Calc 1. Then first take Calc 1. Let's see. All right, let's see what else we have here. Okay, Rakshit asks, I would like to know about the strategy that young applicants should adopt. Further, how do top business schools, HBS, Stanford, etc., look upon re-applicants? Well, those are two very different questions. Young applicants need to show maturity. They should address, without raising the issue of their grades, a real good reason for why they want an MBA now. They also should focus on the schools that are most welcoming to younger applicants. How would you know that? Simply look at the average age upon matriculation of the schools. If the average age is 29 and you are 24 or 25, then you probably are not applying at the right school. If you're 24 and 25 and the average age is 26, which at Stanford it is, then you probably have a much better chance, at least on that metric alone. And it's not really something that the schools look at, but they look more at levels of experience and age, but obviously the two are correlated. And, if they're looking for something and you don't have it, you might not be applying at the right place. And how do top schools like HBS and Stanford, etc., look upon applicants, re-applicants? I think that Harvard tends to set the bar higher for re-applicants. We have had re-applicants accepted, but I think they are a little tougher on re-applicants than some of the other programs. In all cases, all schools, I've never heard of a school say differently, in this. The schools want to see change and growth in reapplicants. The possible exception to that would be somebody who applied third round the previous year and they're now applying first round. Then they don't expect to see so much change because obviously just not that much time has elapsed. But if you applied first round or second round to a program and you were rejected, then you really have to assess what needs to be improved, what went wrong. Was there something about your qualifications that you just weren't competitive, or did you fail to present yourself well in your application? And then you have to change and improve your application the second time around. We have a lot of resources on accepted.com for reapplicants. Miriam, I don't know if you're here at the moment. If you are, please post a link to our MBA Reapplicant 101 page. And then there's a webinar there. There's all kinds of material there. Yeah, she just posted that. Thank you, Miriam. Let's see. Okay. Good question. Mithun asks, how do we differentiate ourselves from the rest of us? How do we differentiate ourselves from the rest of us? That's a good question. Okay. Well, the best way to do it. Tell you what, I'm gonna see if I can illustrate this with a show of hands right now. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. How many of you, hold on a second here, let me get this right. How many of you want to go into consulting? Please raise your hand. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 more seconds. How many of you want to go into consulting? All right, and that 24% of you want to go into consulting. How many of you, wait a second, I haven't asked the question yet. How many of you want to go into healthcare consulting? Okay, so 24% wanted to go into consulting, 4% wanted to go into healthcare consulting. How many of you have volunteered in the past? 1 more second. How many of you volunteered? 38% have volunteered. How many of you have volunteered for Habitat for Humanity? Okay, 38% have volunteered, 3% have volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. How many of you have traveled outside your home country? 47% have traveled outside their home country. How many of you have visited China who were not born in China? Okay, that's all. So what am I doing here? 24% want to go into consulting, 4% want to go into healthcare. 38% have volunteered at some point. Another 3% have volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. 40% have traveled outside their home country. 7% have visited China. Why am I asking these questions? What's the difference? You got it. Namita, got it. Be specific and give details to differentiate yourself. Namita, you get a copy of MBA Missions for Smarties. Miriam, please send it to Namita. If you write in general terms, you are going to fail to distinguish yourself because you're going to blur into the mass of others who have done the same stuff in general terms that you have done. But the more specific you are, the more that you hone in, not that you tell all the details, but that you hone in on a specific detail, a specific story, your responses will be more concrete, more interesting, and far more distinctive. So that is the key. The other key is to tell stories. Now, there is a webinar that I did, I think it's almost 2 years ago, called Essays That Stick. The whole thing is about how to write distinctively and how to make yourself distinctive, or your writing distinctive, remarkable. How to make your essays stick in terms of memory. So you might want to look at that too. But thank you for the excellent question. Val asks, how do you convince people to participate in these informational interviews? Well, I don't know if you want to really convince them. If you have to convince them, I probably wouldn't bother with it. What I would do is simply invite them for coffee or lunch and say you'd like their advice. Most people do like to give advice. So I would just say, gee, I'm wondering, I'd like to discuss something with you. I'm facing some decisions in my life. I really like your input on it. Could you join me for coffee? Could you join me for lunch? That's how I would do it. But if they were reluctant, I wouldn't do any majors, no jobs, or sell jobs. Val also asks, thank you very much, when will you have MBA for Smarties in PDF format? We don't have it in PDF, and we're probably not going to put it in PDF. We do have it for Kindle, and you can download the Kindle software to your computer and read it that way if you want. Or you can buy it and download it to your Kindle if you have a Kindle. But if you don't have a Kindle, you can read it on your computer. I'm not sure if you can print it out, but that would probably also be kind of expensive to paint. So that is an option, and that is available now. And the first chapter, as I mentioned, is a free download. So thank you for that question, too. All right. John asks a very good question. You suggest that one aim for within 0.3 points of the average GPA, but how should one do that analysis when there is a post-undergraduate GPA also present? That is a really good question, and is one of the reasons that that number is fuzzy. I can't give you a numerical even guideline for how to calculate in post or graduate work or post-undergraduate GPA. It will influence admissions, I can tell you, because it's more recent than the undergraduate. And the undergraduate also usually includes work when maybe you were a freshman and not so mature and struggled for some reason or another. So usually the post-college grades are higher and good, whether that be in actual graduate coursework or just in some classes. If so, great. They'll see that. They'll see that as evidence that you really can do better than you did as an undergraduate. If they're lower, then they're going to require some explanation, like why did you take these classes and then do poorly in them. So, just keep that in mind. They are going to be considered, but I can't give you a rule of thumb. Okay. Let's see. I have time for a couple more questions. Nandita asks, when is the latest I can take the GMAT to have enough time before round 1 begins? Well, believe it or not, we once worked with a client who took the GMAT the day before he submitted his application. So I guess that is the latest, but I don't recommend that. You have the time now to study, prepare, and plan, and I would plan to take it no later than July because, again, it's going to influence your school choices, and that will give you August and September to actually work on the application. And that should be plenty of time to get 4 applications out or something like that. But thank you. That is a good question. I also would just get it done as soon as possible because you don't always get the score you want, and sometimes you have to retake or postpone or whatever. So just try and get it done. Rakshit asks, does summer internship in your undergrad and a few international conferences mean the same? I don't think so. International conferences are one thing, and summer internships are something else. So if I'm understanding you, I don't think so. If you had international experience as a summer internship, that's good. It's not as good as something more recent because most of you are several years away from college. Few international conferences could have taken place in college or beyond. And again, it would represent international exposure and a certain amount of recognition if somebody sent you to such a conference. Diana asks a very interesting question. Some people say that round 2 has the most number of apps received, but it also means it is when the most applicants are accepted. If that is the case, wouldn't our chances be higher in round 2 than round 1? I don't think gaming rounds is really the best way to go because the schools are very stat conscious. They know when they get most of their apps, and they try and leave room appropriately. There are 2 advantages to applying. Well, first of all, here is a place where I'm very unequivocal, and I actually give a rule. you apply as early as possible to the first round possible, provided you don't compromise the quality of your application. No round one advantage is worth submitting something less than your best. Okay, so there's no fuzziness there. That's an absolute. Don't compromise the quality of your application in a rush to submit. Doesn't work. So then it just becomes, well, one is, should I submit round one or round two, which is better? I believe that round one is slightly better because there are simply more spots available. There's more money available for financial aid. So that would be my reasons for recommending round one. And if you aim for round one and something comes up, you can't make it, you get sick, work gets crazy, and you have to apply round two, well, okay, fine. But if you aim for round two and you get sick, work gets crazy, whatever, and you have to apply round three, then already financial aid is much more limited. Visas can become an issue if you're applying from abroad, obtaining visas, and there are just many, many fewer spots. So I suggest you aim for round one and adjust if necessary to round two. Now with that, we're just about out of time. You can ask any unanswered questions on our Facebook wall or on our forum or in our LinkedIn group. And we're happy to answer those questions. Obviously, what we would really like to do is go further than I could go here in this webinar. I hope you found it useful. And really consult with you and advise you as to what you should be working on, what you can just sit back on and relax about, much like Johnny Jock and his stats, and take advantage of the offer that we're giving you, 50% off the first hour purchase before March 31st, coupon code MBA50.
Great, Miriam. Well, thank you, Linda. Yeah, thank you. This is a great webinar, and thank you all for attending. Linda, like you were probably just going to mention that I'm going to be pasting the link for the recording of the webinar, so that's going to be available hopefully early next week. I'm going to give you that link right now. And I just wanted to thank you again all for coming. As you leave, please take a moment to complete our short survey. We really do value your feedback. And again, if you want to review the webinar, you can just visit the link that I just pasted in the window, the smarttimelinewebinar.aspx. And we'll also be sending out an email letting you know when it's available. Again, as Linda mentioned, don't forget you can save the 50% on your first hour purchase before March 31st, 2012 with the coupon code MBA50. Thank you again, and best of luck with your 2013 application.
Yes, best of luck to all of you. Thank you very much. You've been a great group.